I'm sure by now you've heard about Medvi. This is the first one-person, $1 billion company that's ever come into existence. And now I've started a lot of businesses and I've created a lot of videos about starting businesses, so this immediately captured my attention, and in a way it broke all of my mental models about entrepreneurship. This guy, Matt Gallagher, he didn't find a problem to solve, he didn't create a product or a solution, he didn't raise a single dollar, and all this led me to believe that the way I was thinking about startups is fundamentally wrong. That's what today's video is all about, taking a good hard look at the common beliefs around starting a business and really stress testing those against the reality of what AI enables these days. But before we dive in, I want to flag loudly and clearly that Medvi is definitely not a business ethics case study. There are now some pretty credible allegations that Matt Gallagher broke the law in a few areas. While I certainly don't advocate for any of that, I think there are some really powerful lessons here, and I hope you won't be too upset with me if your startup only ends up being worth $200 or $300 million if you do it completely ethically. So the traditional startup process is basically 4 steps: problem discovery, solution design, distribution, and value capture. And I think each one of these is getting completely rewritten by AI. Let's start with step 1, finding a problem to solve, except that's not what Matt Gallagher did at all. And when I look back at the history of the businesses that I've started, that's not what I did either. For more details about this, I'm jumping right into the cheat sheet. I make a cheat sheet like this for every single video that I create. These are all instantly available to anybody who joins my Patreon. There's a link in the description. I've also got a Claude skill that walks you through all of this stuff and applies it to whatever situation that you're going through. That's available in the Patreon as well, so check that out. I'm also really excited to announce I've got a free Masterclass series coming up in just a few weeks. There's a link in the description where you can register for that if you're interested in going really deep into this stuff with me. So getting back to this problem discovery step, Medvi didn't uncover this weight loss problem. It's been screaming at everybody for many years. He discovered that there were people creating alternatives to these big brand names, creating these drugs, and that there was a whole telehealth infrastructure that could handle the medical side. So rather than uncovering a problem, what he did is really just connect these pieces that nobody had connected before. And if you take one thing away from this video, it's to stop looking for problems and start looking for these asymmetrical situations. These are structural imbalances in demand, regulation, and infrastructure. This really positions modern founders more like traders than traditional entrepreneurs. But another big thing that you can look for is a capability bet. So looking at what's possible now, not necessarily what hurts or where the pain is. Oftentimes in big markets, that's pretty obvious. But what may not be obvious is that there's all sorts of new APIs, let alone these new AI models that are coming onto the market, making many new things possible. And the third thing you should be looking out for here is what I'm calling complexity absorption. And this is looking for industries where people are spending 30% plus of their time on compliance and procurement or cross-jurisdictional complexity. You can productize that complexity so customers can just ignore it, and that headache becomes your moat. Some examples around this complexity absorption include Deal, which is a global payroll company that I've had extensive interactions with. Ramp is another one that takes care of a lot of different expense management issues. But here's a really cool prompt that you can use to start scanning and thinking about these different asymmetric situations. You might want to do this on a weekly or at least a monthly basis. I've also got one here for the capability bet scanner and the complexity absorption scanner. And again, those are all available in the Patreon. There's also that skill that just automatically walks you through all of this available there as well. The next step in the traditional entrepreneurial workflow after that problem discovery would be this solution design or product design stage, often starting with an MVP, which you then scale up. But again, there Medvi totally broke that step apart because Matt Gallagher, he didn't build anything proprietary. He didn't create a drug. He didn't build the telehealth platform. He didn't develop the medical infrastructure. He just assembled these existing pieces. He used a company called Care Validate for compliance. He used a company called Open Loop for physician networks and prescription writing. He found these compounding pharmacies for the actual product, and then he used these AI tools for these consumer-facing website marketing and support platforms, which we're going to get into in depth here in a second. And this falls directly in line with what's called an MSO, a management services organization. So you're basically handling the business side and contracting out everything you possibly can. A new way to frame this step would be to assemble, not build. Thinking about what kind of infrastructure already exists that already handles some of the difficulties that your potential consumers are facing. Of course, you also want to think about what can AI handle for your consumers. Then squeezing everything down and thinking about what's the smallest thing I actually really need to create myself, and then where can I fill in the gaps with different specific contractors. But this MSO model expands way beyond medicine into legal services, financial planning, even maybe especially home home services where you can build the brand and the booking system and then license out all the jobs to different contractors. And that's a huge one to set you up for when actual robotics come out and you can start to automate some of those services as well. Education and tutoring is a huge one that I think a lot about, where you could build the platform and the student acquisition and then contact credentialed tutors through different marketplaces to actually supply the knowledge. Here's a prompt that might get the creative juices flowing when it comes to mapping all that stuff out. This reminds me of a Naval Ravikant quote where he says, if you're more passionate about founding a business than the business itself, you can fall into the 10-year trap. I think this shift that we're talking about here is going to be really challenging for entrepreneurs, because I know creating businesses, I've really been inspired by falling in love with the product and really diving deep into the problem. But it's starting to dawn on me that the people that are scaling the fastest are not getting attached to really any one thing. They're just keeping laser focus on whatever specific opportunities they come across. Now, I'm not saying that's the only path or even the best path, but it does look like that is the fastest scaling path currently. Now, the third step here, after uncovering those asymmetric situations and assembling a solution from a infrastructure that already exists, is this distribution or marketing step. And in the Medvi case study, this stays largely the same, except for one big takeaway for me was how aggressively he doubled down into the marketing. Matt Gallagher was a performance marketer or a direct response marketer by trade, so he really poured every single dollar he made back into the marketing to just scale this up as quickly as possible. This is one area that I've never been good at in any of my businesses. I've been a little too risk averse to really double down as aggressively as he did, or as aggressively as I've seen some of these other companies around me do. AI definitely played a major role in his ability to create all sorts of different ad creative and test those against each other to make the most of this marketing spend. This is definitely one of the areas where he really got in trouble with the law and probably pushed it a little too far with what he was creating with AI. But if you're watching this, I'm sure you're tuned into how quickly everything is moving, and these windows of opportunity are really only going to be open for a very short amount of time. And that's one main reason that this aggressive reinvestment in growth is more important than ever before. There are a ton of ways to use AI to map out your marketing and distribution reinvestment strategy and really look at where are you going to get the best ROI, the best bang for your buck. Now moving into the fourth step of the traditional entrepreneurial process, the value capture. So we've found our asymmetric situation, we've assembled a solution, we've figured out our marketing and distribution, and now we need to deliver on this in the most efficient way possible. And traditionally this meant looking at pricing and profit margins, retention metrics, and unit economics, and all that requires a ton of rethinking when you're building an AI-first business. Medvi, even though it's just a 1 or 2 person operation, is structured into 4 fairly traditional departments, 1 being the marketing and ads, 2 being customer acquisition and conversion, 3 being operations and customer support, and 4 being analytics and decision making. For the marketing and ads, Gallagher used Midjourney to create the images, Runway to create the videos, 11 Labs to do all the voiceovers, and ChatGPT/Claude for the ad copy, email sequences, landing page copy, and A/B test variants. A workflow that you might want to follow is identifying a campaign angle using, the flagship AI like ChatGPT or Claude, then have that write the ad copy variants. And if you're brand new to this, you definitely want to study some direct response marketing. Once you've got the concepts for the ads figured out, you can jump into Midjourney to create the images and then build the video assets inside of Runway. 11 Labs is a great place to do all the voiceover as well. I love geeking out about this kind of thing, and that's why I created these group coaching calls that are available in my Patreon. That's a great place if you want to jump in there and ask me some questions directly. I can help you through some of this stuff. The final and probably most important AI duty in that marketing department is to continuously analyze the performance data to make sure that you are experimenting and iterating in the right ways that are actually giving you good ROI. Now, the second department here is actually the customer acquisition and conversion department, where Gallagher built a pretty streamlined funnel of once people click one of those ads, he wanted to make it as simple as possible for them to get to that order. And I think he spent a lot of time refining that process. So this would mean not spending really a ton of time on your logo and things like that, but really a ton of time on that checkout flow and conversion funnel. He used the basic tools to flesh out this site, ChatGPT, Claude, and I think he used Grok for a lot of the different copy there. He uses a lot of different AI A/B testing to generate a bunch of different landing pages to make sure he's converting at the highest rate possible. A quick and dirty workflow for this would be to stand up a very basic site structure and really spend most of your time generating various landing page variants. Then you want to run traffic to those variants, measuring that conversion, of course, and then use the AI to analyze those results and suggest optimizations. And all this allows you to really iterate rapidly at 10 or 100 times what we used to be able to do back when I was running my marketing agency. Now, the third department here, the operations and customer customer support is where things get pretty interesting. I think we've covered the infrastructure play quite a bit early on, where he assembled, existing things and connected them in a very smart way that allowed him to really capitalize on what other people had built in a major way. And it seems like he's struggling the most with this AI customer service. This is a question that comes up over and over. How do I get AI to deal with customer service? And the reality is it's just not there yet in the way that many people think it is. To my knowledge, you cannot just hand off your entire customer support service to AI. It just doesn't work. Think about it. Anytime you need customer support, you really, if it's anything complicated, need to speak to a professional. But what's starting to materialize is a really efficient way to use humans and AI together. So starting ideally with this email or web chat as the very first round of customer support. And then when it escalates to a human, making sure that human has all of the chat documents and emails that particular user has submitted, and has that all available in a chat bot so that the human can really look through quickly what's already been accomplished automatically, and in that way really reduce the amount of time they need to spend on each particular problem. So building out that process, I think, is a lot more fruitful than trying to completely automate that customer service, because I haven't seen anybody do it yet. I'm sure it'll come. It's just not there yet. The tools he used there are your basic flagship models combined with some heavy experimentation into 11 Labs. I think if anybody's going to crack that code of, full voice AI customer communication, it's going to be 11 Labs. So definitely keep your eye on them as they're getting closest to that. But again, it's a little ways out. And finally, Department 4 of this AI first one-person organization was the Analytics and Decision-Making Department. And this is simply just using those flagship models again for more data analysis, strategic recommendations, and financial modeling. So the quick and dirty workflow here is just feeding in all sorts of data, not just when it comes to ad performance, but maybe customer service and other issues that he may be facing. Maybe it's legal issues now that he's using this for, but using the AI to analyze all of that and model out, forecast potential scenarios, and then finally making a decision based on everything that you've gone through. I like to generate a bunch of options and then weigh them against each other, trying to steel man even the ones that I don't believe are the great options, especially if this is a really important decision. You want to go through all that, as you can always make your decision just a little bit better. And while we've talked a lot about Medvi isn't the only one. I think it's the first of many to come. There's also Base 44, which was acquired for $80 million in just 6 months. There's this guy, Peter Levels, who's creating all sorts of stuff by himself, generating $3 million a year. I've got more extensive information about that in the cheat sheet. Again, there's a complete skill that runs you through all of what we've gone through here. And I've got that Masterclass coming up, so make sure and register for that. We're going to go in deep to some of the biggest problems facing AI practitioners these days. But like I said in the beginning, I want to urge you to get out there and start looking for these structural market gaps, this asymmetric information, these different ways of arbitraging things that already exist. I think there is a ton of opportunity out there just hiding in plain sight, and in several years we're going to be looking back being like, man, I wish I would have done that, or I should have done this. It'd be a lot better to look back and be like, man, look at what I've accomplished. I jumped on that opportunity and really embraced this new framework of entrepreneurship. Maybe it's a lucrative business, or you've helped a ton of people solve a problem, whatever it is. I think now's the time to really look at the reality of what's happening, and not just this textbook, two-dimensional view of startups, but how are they really rolling out? That's been my attempt today, and I'm going to be doing that in future videos. But all of this is really going to require some significant project management skills. I've created a video all about using Claude to really sharpen those skills. There's a link to that right here. I'll see you over there.